All right. Good day, everyone who is listening. Welcome back to another episode of the Blaque Falcon podcast, starring yours truly, the one and only. Uh, Thank you again for listening all the episodes up to now, or if you're only just joining us, thank you and welcome uh, to uh, to this episode. So today's one is a bit of a touchy one. Today is as much as and I'll be completely frank and honest with you guys, I don't really listen back to any of the previous stuff anyway. I tend to just record it, go, invite this person in, and then they come in, say their piece, and then I don't even re listen to some of the stuff. I like to just do it, move on, do it, move on, do it, move on. But what I like to do ultimately is to have like a set of recordings that could be referred back to in the future that can then just be seen as, okay, this was spoken about back then. So what it does is it creates a backlog of content that we can always just use as history. So it's always good to just record your journey. I mean, I've had loads of videos from back when I first started Blaque Falcon. So that kind of gives me enough, or us enough proof to show that we've been doing this since when we started back in 2018 now, or 17 maybe. So it's all there. Um, few things, few things I'd like to talk about. A few things that have been passing onto my mind. Thought that would be worth discussing. So mental health is a subject that is up for discussion, that has been brought up for discussion plenty of times in many circles. And I like to talk about it myself because as a son of a mental health practitioner, I've also had my bout of anxiety myself. I've gone through my challenges, I've overcome them, and it's an ongoing process. It's not something that's affecting me as such every day. I mean, I'm still functioning every day absolutely fine, but with the distractions, with the noise, with the inherent blah that's coming in from left, right, and center, with the exchange of information coming in from all over the place, it's hard to keep up, and it's not exactly um, assisting you in your own journey when you're having to process all of this and actually make sense of your own reality, or whatever you presume reality to be. This is all about you ultimately, and I'm just going to go just straight dive in, because you see these movies where the hero or heroine come is confronted with a big massive situation and you're unsure about how they're about to get through it. They're caught in the trap by the villain and they're unsure on how they get themselves out of it. Well, and then you're watching this thinking, okay, because you know they're the hero, they're going to find some sort of way out of this. Well, that could be a very simple way of how, well, not simple, but simple in principle. That could be a way on how you can see yourself. How you see yourself, of course, is of course what you are. And if you see yourself as the hero, architect, and even villain of your own story, which is the ultimate truth, by the way, then this whole landscape that you like to call your world is ultimately yours. You can control this. This is all on you. So this is partly in change with a blog post that I've written about how I dealt with anxiety, and I do make the allusion to like the typical hero, like an Indiana Jones or a James Bond or something like that. But the first step is, of course, just like any other issue, is to acknowledge that you've got an issue, something that just doesn't feel right. Now, you can look at this thing in one or two ways. As a positive, you can see that as a positive, as in you feel that something's not right, but you're just unsure. But the very fact that you can even feel it means that you're already on your way there to even clearing it up. And that's something that only you, yourself, and yourself are going to have to just sort out. And you can do it because that's how everyone else did it. Some people seek therapy, like I did, and that helped to a degree. But did it solve everything? No. But what it did was it allowed someone outside of myself to penetrate into my own consciousness, to penetrate themselves into my own consciousness and question some of my own beliefs. A lot of those beliefs at the time when I went through those sessions were actually self-limiting, because no one can limit you except yourself. No one can empower you except yourself, ultimately, regardless of what anyone else says to you. Take that as it will, but it's the truth. And that's what that taught me. When you get into a position of self-reflection, in which you are now able to look into yourself and find the mental barriers that have been placed in front of you, could be, and it's most likely from all the way in childhood, regardless of how young or old you are, if you're listening or watching this. Ultimately, when you determine all of this, when you find this out, you then start to put the pieces to your own jigsaw puzzle. Why do I behave like this? How do I react like that? How comes I really love this? Why do I talk like this? It's because of this, it's because of that. And again, ultimately, only you can find that out. You can get help from others, but ultimately it's going to be down to you. And I know I keep saying that term ultimately, but that is the case. So therapy is one. And I've already touched on it a little bit, but another way that you can do it is also through meditation. Now, I'm not talking about the usual self-reflecting thing where you have to sit in a lotus position and kind of put your arms together and breathe in and breathe out, but that's ultimately how you can do it. This system of survival, this backwards, somewhat even schizophrenic burden that's been put onto us, where you have to do everything you have to do in order to survive in this life, pay bills, rent, car finance note, or whatever you want to call it. That isn't a healthy way of living, but it's what we do anyway, because we're here. So you are where you are. So you get into yourself, and then you find out from yourself, what is it about yourself that separates you from others? But you're not doing that to compare yourself to others in a false sense of superiority. You're doing it to get into a place of not believing in yourself, but ultimately knowing yourself. Ultimately knowing yourself. Because when you know yourself, or as the ancients used to call it, know thyself, that is the ultimate reality. Your consciousness is the ultimate reality. Your attitude to yourself is the ultimate reality. Not this, not the physical stuff. I mean, that's just a reflection of it. But ultimately, how you see yourself, again, like I said before, is what you are. So when you start seeing yourself in a more positive light, hence why, what's that guy's name? Norman Vincent Peale wrote a very famous book, The Power of Positive Thinking. That's one easy way of jumping into it. But there's a book that I'm currently reading called Psychastra, The Key to ESP Plus Control. Oh, I've forgotten his name. Rudolph Young or something like that, I think. And what he's talking about is you have to have the ultimate conviction of being who you say you want to be, but using your astral body. Now, I could go into detail of this, but I'd rather just have you guys do your own research on that. But check that book out, Psychastra. Psychastra. Check that book out. Very good book. Very well written. Nearly finished it. Excellent piece of work right there. Very inspiring. Goes into much more detail than the commonly used Secret and all these other law of attraction books, because ultimately you become whatever you say you attract. So that's my message for today. Look into yourself, know yourself, and coming to terms with yourself. That's going to be my third and final point. Just coming into terms with yourself, knowing that you may not be the perfect superstar singer that you thought that you wanted to be when you were younger, but ultimately you may come to the conclusion that that was never made for you in the first place. That you were destined, based upon your own thinking, that you were destined to go left instead of right, right instead of left, up instead of down, down instead of up, northwest, southeast, etc., etc., etc. So when you come into terms with yourself, that's how you win. You don't need anything from anyone. You don't need anything from me. You don't need anything from the guy down the street. You don't need money. Well, any money from that, in that respect. Ultimately, you make that for yourself. There you go, ultimately again. You make that from yourself. You can do it. So that's my message for today. Again, another short one. I'm not sure what else to say. I don't want to keep you guys here for forever just talking about and just talking around in circles. I'd rather just get straight to the point and just give you another soundbite and another video to put on the record. So that is me. All right, peace. Oh, and of course, don't forget, it's that time of the year where you can get yourself one of these bad boys that I'm wearing. Blaque Falcon polo, ready for men and women. It's that time of year. It's summer. We're in June at the time of this recording. So get yourself one of these. You can get, I'll obviously leave a link in the description below. Please like, subscribe, all of that, and leave a comment if you can. All right. Peace.